story of Wereworld Rise of the Wolf revolves around a young boy, 16 years old, Drew Ferren, who comes of age and discovers he's actually a werewolf. The world setting for Wereworld features all the nobles, the royals, the blue bloods, the people who rule the world are all were creatures, they're the werelords. So the king of the realm is King Leopold the lion, a tyrant who rules the land with an iron fist. You've got the spies of the king, the were-rats in every court of the land. You've got proud Duke Bergen, Lord of the Woodland Realm, the Direwood, he's a werebear. There's a young princess destined to marry the king's son, Lady Gretchen. She's a fiery redhead. She happens to be a werefox. You see a pattern emerging here. But Drew is, he's a boy living on a farm, he's a shepherd, miles away from the hubbub of the major cities and what it takes to be a were creature. Discovers his true heritage of what he actually is, and before long he's chased across the world by the king and his agents, ultimately to a showdown at the end of the first book, where he emerges triumphant, and it sets things up very nicely. It's quite a cliffhanger, as the whole of the country is basically looking to him to lead them forward out of the reign of the despot into a brighter future. Whether Drew's ready for that or not is another thing entirely. There may be an audio version of the book coming at some point in the near future. I can't vouch for that at the moment. Originally, I imagined a great voice to read an audiobook would be Brian Blessed. Casting in my head, he would have been an ideal pick for Duke Bergen, the Bear Lord. I blame watching Flash Gordon too much as a kid, and seeing a big bearded man bellow, he'd be ideal for it. But I'm not sure whether Mr. Blessed would be available. I think it's a male voice, somebody with a very sort of rich, sort of Shakespearean voice, I would imagine, but a Liam Neeson perhaps, something like that would be lovely. I'm sure the audience have their own view of who would be an ideal choice for that as well. I'd love to hear what they had to say as well. There are currently 4 books commissioned, so we've got Rise of the Wolf already out there, Rage of Lions is about to be released into the wild, and there's 2 more books that Puffin have commissioned as well in the series. Ideally, I'd like to be able to keep writing the stories of the characters within the books. I do have a finite point where the story arc for Drew will finish, but the nice thing about Wereworld is the canvas is so broad with so many different werelords and different territories and exotic locations that there are any number of stories that you can tell within that large map of the world as well. I think the challenge for creating a unique series like Wereworld is, I wasn't even aware I was doing it, but one of the things that was mentioned very early doors with the reviews that came through was the world building side of it, which for me, it comes naturally in so much as if you're writing fantasy, I guess you have to build a world. A lot of contemporary fiction, it has those points of reference for the audience if it's set within a real world setting. Everybody knows where London is or what the Alps look like or New York City. So the audience can immediately understand and project themselves into that. So when you're writing fantasy, there has to be a degree of world building involved in that. And that's something I quite enjoy. I spent many misspent years as a child playing role-playing games, and invariably it was me that used to run the games as well. Things like Dungeons and Dragons, yes, Curtis Nerdling. Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings games, Call of Cthulhu. So that's where my love of horror and fantasy comes from. And that was really where I learnt to kind of build a world and kind of tell my own story. So I guess that was the challenge. But the other thing was, the first book, when it was, by the time it got released, by the time it got picked up, it was the 5th draft. So I did a lot of revisions along the way, honing it and tinkering with it and changing huge lumps of it and adding new ones to it as well, just to make sure it was absolutely right before we got it off the ground.